pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone. We have the joint committee meeting for the JCIDA and JCLDC loan review. Privilege of the floor. If there's anybody that wants. First on our agenda, we have a request from Running Boards, RBM Manufacturing. Why don't you, or want to walk us through?
Joy did the end.
Joy?
I think so. Go
I
ahead.
did the write-up, you talked to them.
Yeah.
Just basically, they're looking for an extension of the interest only for 6 months and then I can't talk today, amortize the schedule for another 5 years at 3%. That's basically it.
Yeah,
And Calvin's here.
Calvin's here
Ask
to
questions.
bring you up to date on what's happening and answer any questions you might have, I believe.
Sure, Calvin, you want to just
Yeah,
give us a quick update on where things are going? And
yep. And then Calvin, too, if there's any financial information or proprietary stuff that you don't want public, you can ask. We can go to executive session to discuss any of those details, but whatever you can share, you can do now.
Well, being a franchisor is not as easy as I might have thought it was gonna be. It's been tough to build this business. Last year was a tough year, for several reasons. One, we couldn't get trucks and, can't sell franchise without trucks. My wife and we were very sick with COVID. My wife spent 29 days in the hospital here in Watertown, and we were both out of work for about 4 months. She's still recovering. But all that aside, and not to make excuses or anything, we're moving forward. We're picking up momentum again. I think my team did an excellent job without me, but there's lack of a little sense of urgency probably. That's where I come in, and I'm very active in the sale of the franchises. So we have 14 franchises up and running at the moment, and a third of them are doing good, a third of them are doing in the middle, and a third of them are struggling some. So we're working with each of them and the different personalities and the nuances and the territories, learning a lot there. A lot of efforts going into their success. We signed 2 deals last week, one in Topeka, Kansas, and the second deal was our franchise in Denton, Topeka, Kansas, Denton, Texas, and that was for their second truck with 2 more territories. Our Baton Rouge franchise signed their agreement yesterday. They're selling their franchise to some new people, which is good. They were doing good. They were profitable. They've sold to some people that will take it to the next level. Our goal is 8 franchises by April 30th. That's when we go dark, because we have to refile our FTD with the states and everything else. And because we live in New York, we can't do any business until New York approves us. Then the other states will add on. So there's a period there where we're dark. We think that'll be less this year than in past years, but we don't know that answer. Just information we're hearing out there. We got trucks this year. I got dealers calling me to buy trucks from me. We ordered 25, and it was supposed to come 3 the first month and 2 a month after that. We'll go with 24 trucks this year for 25 franchises. That's our goal. And 13 of them are already in Buffalo, and 9 of them are on a train, and some are in a combat. Only 1 was up in production. So our trucks are coming a little quicker than we wanted, but I can sell franchises on money, but I can't sell franchises on trucks. But we have worked out a plan to bring the trucks in intermittently, and I know I can sell some if I need to. I don't want to rush to do that. I want to sell franchises, put people in business, get this thing going to the next level. So we're continuously working with our franchise consultants, people that have been in the business for years, our franchise attorneys, tweaking things. I have an awesome team. The truck, we've improved so much how the truck's being built. Our new FDD is much more robust. That's our franchise disclosure document. We're bringing in people, that are better financially strong, explaining things better, make sure they clearly understand what this business is about, make sure they understand all the fees associated. We have realized we're not a good executive model business. We're more of an owner operator. So we're taking that off the table, even the semi-absentee. I think we'll get there, but there's a lot of work to master that, more of an owner operator thing. So our second franchise in Texas, they bought a second truck last fall. So we have 2 franchises with 2 trucks, but one on order. And our pipeline, it continues to grow. We're taking steps to eliminate brokers because they take 40% of the franchise fees and do things more direct. Currently, most of my deals are with brokers, which just sucks. But we wouldn't have the deals without them. But up until this point, we've done a pretty even pace. But the goal is to get away from brokers. And Entrepreneur Magazine, when it comes out April 30th, the next issue, we will be ranked in that as a new and upcoming franchise, emerging brand. I don't know our ranking. I won't know to the 13th, but we're excited for that.
What kind of regulations do your franchise come against? Say you want to go to a municipality, do they have, what kind of regulations are in place, or what do you run up against?
Well, we review the regulations everywhere we're going to go.
Okay.
And mostly we follow the traffic laws of the state we're in. And some of the traffic laws are outdated. We're working in Pennsylvania now to working with some government people down there to see if we can get those laws updated. There's trucks running in Pennsylvania, but I got a guy in Penn State that wants to buy, but the way the law is written, until we can get some language changed, he's on hold. There are some communities that have regulations, but it's few and far between. Mostly we just follow the traffic laws.
Okay.
Would those regulations be under zoning in regards to sign zonage or like some of the local regulations? What would
Yes.
be an example?
Yeah. There's some sign laws that specifically call out our trucks positively and negatively. And most laws don't even address it, period.
Did you have a site in Syracuse, Cal, too, that you were operating from, or?
We never had a franchise in Syracuse. We were down there pre-COVID, and then we dropped back from COVID, and we sold those trucks. We were short on trucks. And at this point, I'm not running back to Syracuse. Do our R&D here locally and work with the franchises. I'd like to sell a franchise in Syracuse, but we're not. We'll go down there for events. We were there last week for a concert, so we'll go in and out of Syracuse a lot for events, but we're not down there every day.
Had you ever considered your technology and your venture is all land-based? Had you ever considered, instead of trucks, boats?
Well, people send me pictures from Florida every time they go down there. Boats.
Well, taking that concept to the shoreline versus the trucks.
Sure.
Not Miami, the river, those kinds of places.
The thought comes up all the time. But right now I got to stay more focused on this. We're always looking at special projects, working with my brother and his new company. Highway aero boards have been the same forever. And we're trying to come up with a better aero board, a better message board. Starting out working with paint trucks because that's the industry we know. And we got some cool stuff there that might turn into something, in which case I would just build them and my brother would handle all the marketing. But he flew in some people last week to look at a prototype we built. They liked it, gave us some ideas. We still got some work to do. Some of the software we've built in-house, we call it the RBM Garage, our back office, because everything we do, has got to be duplicatable. People got to be able to access it. There's a lot of training on a franchise. And through my son-in-law, one of my son-in-laws who works at Highlight, he saw it one day. We were talking, and then he said, Tana's got to look at this. So now we've met with Highlight, and we're about to sign a deal with them to build the same thing for them, but their parent company we met with them, they, they're interested for all their companies, but I just wasn't comfortable taking that on right now. But it was pretty flattering that we just built something for ourselves and that's the quality. So we're doing a lot of good stuff, a lot of momentum, but yeah, there's struggles along the way and challenges every day.
So in terms of the banking needs you have listed here, Cal, are the banks supporting what you're looking for there?
Watertown Savings Bank has been excellent. They've been there. I go in and tell them when I'm concerned or worried, and I go in and tell them when things are good. We talk through and I visit with Mark Lamar if needed, but they've been excellent.
Communication.
As I've stopped in and given you guys updates, and as we have, the Topeka, Kansas deal was slow to close, but it was our first 7A loan with the SBA. And we've done a few express loans with the SBA. So it's good to get some of them under our belt, so that we can get through those systems.
Morning, Rob and Rob. Any questions?
Yeah, thanks, Calvin and staff. I kind of had one or two questions, mainly more for staff, about procedurally, support the action. Just need to understand, we're saying effective March 1st, so we're going backwards instead of forwards, which is more traditional. Was there in fact a payment made for March 1st? Or are we making that interest?
We're waiting for this action, Rob.
Excuse me?
We're waiting for action on this proposal.
There was,
Okay, so there was, it's essentially it's in abeyance right now until we actually figure out if it's a full payment or interest only.
Yes, that's correct.
You're correct, Rob.
I couldn't remember if this original term expired 28 February, so you answered my second question. Okay.
And you're correct, Rob, that is not typical, but we have done this before.
All right,
Not
it just seems
regularly,
like we could have done this last month then, instead of going backwards. That was pretty much it. So we're going backwards to try to retroactively capture what would have been a full payment to interest only, and then go forward and add the, basically, I guess it's 7 months you're adding on to the end, because you're taking this month, which should have been full payment, or is it still 6?
It's still 6.
Okay, seems like it should be 7.
Well, this will be the first of 6, so there'll be 5 more after this one.
Okay. All right, well, that's true, never mind. I understand my own stupid math here. You're going backwards to March 1st. So it's from March 1st is.
Right.
Okay.
So
That was it, Dave. Just trying to wrap my head around the procedure of doing things in the past instead of the future.
if I read this correctly, you've only done on interest only, basically, since the loans have been issued?
No, there were 2 or 3 principal payments made, principal and interest,
December, we started paying
December.
paying that. And our other small loan we have with you guys, we paid that off in December too.
the COVID loan.
Well, the balance had been reduced by roughly, what, 20 grand, so.
Roughly, what started at 4, that's correct.
Okay, so we have RBM Manufacturing Corporation has requested a 6-month period of interest-only payments effective March 1st, 2022, and an adjustment to the amortization schedule, adding those 6 months to the end of the loan. The current balance on their $400,000 is $381,391.11, and that's as of February 28th. Any other questions?
No, I'll make a motion to accept the resolution.
Send it to the board?
Yeah, I'll make a first.
Second.
Okay, on the motion, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thanks, Calvin, for coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
So Harry's here, we'll bring Harry in.
We have a loan request from Conval Energy Incorporated.
Yes, yes. Harry's here, he's Joy's fetching Harry.
Is that a ferry? Is it a truck on ferry or is that?
No, that's it's through there.
Oh. See, I think that's gonna last.
Travels up and down the coast.
Electric car still going good?
Yeah, it added about an hour and a quarter on my trip to Pennsylvania. Stopping to charge, so.
Good morning.
Morning.
Moving right along, right?
Yep, we are.
That's what we want to hear.
So we have with Conval, it's unusual in the request what we're trying to do here, but this is an unusual project, unusual opportunity we have here in front of us that we've been working on since the end of 2020. Harry's project's been moving quite along. They're in front of the planning board, town planning board review now. I think it's been to the county planning board for review as well. As part of the package in terms of the pilot, the property, we're also trying to get Conval and Digitech, but we're dealing with Conval right now. As close to $1.25 million in working capital as we can, while they work on getting the building constructed and stuff like that. We're looking at participating, at least for now. They're not official, but the Sackets Harbor Local Development Corporation, I think, is good for 100,000, maybe even 200, at least 150 to 200. We're meeting with them April 11th to see what they're willing to put into the package. Our other lending partners, Watertown Local Development Corporation and North Country Economic Development Fund. Watertown Local Development Corporation, the trust, they probably have a little more flexibility, but we're still working on getting their comfort level with the fact that we don't typically put money in up front on a project. The project is not finally approved yet. Harry doesn't have his permanent financing in place, but I think we're seeing enough progress and have a good feeling about things the way you're stating that we feel he's going to get there. And so discussion today is kind of the range of what the board is comfortable with after hearing from Harry in terms of providing for that working capital. And if we come to what we're comfortable with, what we might, maybe in the meantime, while we wait to try to get the others on board, give them another month for their committees and boards to meet, maybe front a portion of that or a good chunk of that as a short-term note that we can then roll into a longer-term loan. So I guess we'll start with Harry, give you kind of an overview of where he's at with the project, discussion back and forth, and then if we get into stuff that's more proprietary, then we can move to executive session. So Harry?
Yeah. So since we last met, I think it's been probably about 6-7 months now, I think. We've completed all the preliminary submissions to the town of Huntsville. So the engineering and all of that is moving along quite well. We have also dismantled the SunPower factory up in Oregon, and we have a date of May 31 by which we have to exit out of that building. We've also estimated the number of truckloads. It's approximately 250 as of last night. So the project is moving along. It's delayed by about 3 or 4 months for a number of reasons. From our standpoint, all of the equipment is fully paid up in cash. We've got significant value of what we have purchased, and the value of what we have purchased now has actually gone up significantly because of the current global dynamics. To give you an idea, last night or yesterday, the Department of Commerce has announced an investigation in all the Chinese manufacturers who are using Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand, and Philippines to divert against the tariff, because there is an existing tariff that you can't bring panels into the country if it's made with forced labor. So they started saying that it's coming from Vietnam and so forth. And there's an investigation that is going on right now. So the line right now, if you want to get panels in,
the next 18 months is going to be very challenging for you to get panels. So the timing for us is actually great. Manufacturing is coming back into the United States, and so the value of the equipment has actually gone up significantly since we purchased it. The challenge that we have run into are twofold. When we initially estimated all the costs in April 2021, the lumber prices were up 50%, and we consumed a lot of lumber. To give you the tune of what we're talking about, we were the second largest purchaser of lumber in the Pacific Northwest. If you just look at the Portland area and going down to Medford.
That's for building the crates for the equipment.
We have 110,000 pieces of equipment. We've got, I don't know how many, we lost count of how many crates and skids that we have. You're talking 250 truckloads. So we consume so much lumber, the lumber cost actually went up by 50%. Labor cost is up by 40%. But the bigger issue that we have run into in the last 2 months or 2.5 months, the transportation cost has gone from $3,700 a container to $9,500 a container. So our transportation cost has gone up by almost 3x, almost close to 3x. Is there a justification for it? No, but that's what we're dealt with. In the last 24 to 48 hours, it has come down from 9,500 to around 8,600. I'm expecting in the next 2 weeks for the price to come down, and then we lock in and we move on. As on day to day, the company still does not have any debt. Everything is paid for in cash. So we have injected significant amounts of equity. We continue to invest significant amounts of equity. For warehousing, this is public.
We're talking.
Okay. So for warehousing, we're very close to finalizing. And I think some of you may already know it, but we're already at a point where we've completed 2 warehouses that we own, and they're both in Watertown for a total of about 160,000 square feet of space to store all the equipment. So that is being purchased, and I think in the next week or 2 it will be announced, and that is another asset on our books that we are going to have. And then separately, if I look at our business in 2021, our construction business closed with $4.8 million in revenues, and this year we're expecting to close, or we're targeting revenues of $60 million. Out of the $60 million, we're already in a contract right now at $16 million, building a data center, and we're waiting on a second contract to kick off. That would be another $16 million. Our target is by the end of the year, the construction business is going to close the year with about a targeted revenue of 60, which is actually pretty good. And we're taking the equity at the net income out of that has been coming in to basically support the expenses that have gone up significantly only because of market conditions. So despite challenging market conditions, I think we have continued to grow. We're continuing to move forward with the project. We've also announced some very large projects in Maine, which are going to demand panels. And once that gets approved, this production line is basically occupied for 3 to 4 years. The production line is fully occupied. So I think we're moving along quite well. I'm happy to answer any questions. I think from our perspective, I do want to thank Dave and team for allowing us to work with you guys as we go through this process, because I think we've been fully transparent. I think you know why. So everything that we're doing, we've on the hiring front, we've done really well. I mean, we've been ahead of our curve on the hiring front, and we've hired a number of people from the military who are retired veterans and wives and spouses. I think we continue to do that. So I'm gearing, sometime early Q1 to late Q1 to get this factory up and running. And right now, my immediate, short-term focus right now is to move the equipment over and get it on to the Watertown area. And we're planning to start that within the next 2 weeks. The first truck should be rolling out, within the next 2 weeks, once we finalize our numbers, with the transportation company. So happy to answer any questions that you might have.
And Harry, maybe kind of explain too for the board, I mean, why the working capital is important to you from the public lender.
So there are a number of reasons why the working capital is important. One is it gives us, a cushion on capital in the event that we end up with unforeseen market conditions. So if the prices of transportation is now up 300%, it allows us to tap into our working capital against our equity. We continue to inject equity, significant amounts of equity. We've also got revenues, and we're using those revenues to augment that. On the hiring front, it is extremely challenging to find the right people in this market. So what we're doing is we find the right people, we're hiring them even though we are 5-6 months ahead of target. We're doing that now to get them embedded in the organization. So talent is going to be a challenge to find, or the right talent is going to be challenging to find. So based on those conditions, we are now requesting the working capital lines ahead of the move, so that we have enough capital so that we don't delay the exit from Oregon with some part of building. And once we're here, we're expecting groundbreak to start. Maybe a bit challenging now, but June 1, or at the very, very latest, July 1. We've already appointed, or we're very close to appointing a lender, and we've already forwarded the document, the term sheets, the binding term sheets that have been signed between us to get the debt going for the factory. So that's moving along quite well. We're already planning the second factory now. So our goal now is to get the working capitals in along with our additional equity, just move the equipment over, get it here, get started on the construction June 1, very latest July 1, and get the factory up and running by Q1 of 2023.
So in terms of your business that you're speculating for 22, how do you fulfill those, that business if the building isn't up till 23?
So 2022 business is primarily construction. So we're building data centers right now.
So that's Lincoln Infrastructure, which is one of the Commvault subsidiaries.
Right. So Commvault subsidiary is Lincoln Infrastructure, which is a construction firm. The construction firm actually had a project last year and in January, early February in Rouse's Point, and then we have a project in Maine that we're building right now. It's a data center project. So we've got third-party customers who are utilizing Lincoln, to construct. So that is speaking of revenues. We have additional projects that are coming in on the construction side on Lincoln. So that's providing the revenues into the parent.
So the 16 million from you're showing for the revenue is from having completed that build out, Rouse's Point. So you won't be retaining ownership of that, right? You're selling it.
We just did the construction. We've got a second project now that has already started, and we've got income coming in from the second project already. We're waiting on the projects number 3 and 4 to start. 3 should start probably in June, July. And then we've got 2 more projects that are lining up. One pretty large size project, and Lincoln is also going to do well. We've got another 3rd and 4th project that are coming up in the Northeast.
That project, how much solar arrays went into that project?
These are data centers. The solar arrays are going to go next. Once the data centers are up and running, then we're going to put solar in to feed into the data centers. They're about 5 to 8 megawatts each, but one of them can be even substantial, about 50 megawatts in one of them, because they do. A lot of folks now are wanting to get sustainable data centers.
And they're relying on solar for it.
Yeah, solar is your primary driver, some wind, but the wind doesn't come direct, into the plant, so you have to get it off the grid, and you got to, go through that. So, there are some challenges with that, but the easiest part is actually the solar part.
So every one of these centers, you're actually cultivating a secondary market for the solar arrays to go with it.
Exactly. Not only do we do the construction, but they also need the power solution, so we're providing the power solution to get the construction up and running, the data center up and running, and then we follow back up with solar power. So it's benefiting the company in multiple ways.
Dave, I had a question on the second lien position, that is, to the first lien, the primary lender eventually?
Yeah, or, at some point, if you want, we can even talk to them and do a pari passu if that works, but I think you could have a secondary lien, but we have plenty of assets at this stage.
Well, the term sheet indicated that no subordinate lending was allowed.
No
Last
subordinate
term sheet.
lending is allowed at that project, so at that entity, because that entity is,
I'm talking about the facility that you're building.
right, so the facility that I'm building is a separate SPV and a separate LLC on a project finance basis.
So I guess I'm not sure what it means when the term sheet reflects no subordinate lending.
So you're
Are they
lending
talking
to
about
the
the
parent, right? You're lending to the parent. And you've got,
But if they're taking a first position on the equipment and they say in the term sheet, no subordinate lending, how does that work?
so the equipment, they'll take the first position on the equipment, but you're getting a second lien position, or we would talk to them and say that you would have a second lien as long as they approve it when it goes to the
Okay, so they would have to approve that.
So what you can do is, and if it doesn't happen, then at that point, what we will do is we will close you guys out before we go to them, or we'll have their loan close you out. But we have seen situations where, they're lending to the asset, which is the factory, and it has equipment in the factory, but you also have other positions in this company. You've got 2 warehouses that we're going to be owning. You've got,
Will they be financed?
one of them is not.
Free and clear.
One of them is free and clear. The other one has financing, but it's seller finance, but the equity position is there. So you're gonna have multiple assets, and then you also have income coming in, from Lincoln, the subsidiary going into the parent. So, you're providing capital at the corporate level, which is a parent, and you have a lien against the parent. You have a UCC filing against the parent, right? And then you can have a second lien position, which we can notify the incoming lender that you're a loan to the parent, and this is your amount, and they can, and they'll say, okay, you're in the term sheet help.
When do you anticipate site plan approval?
May 1, I think we have a meeting. I saw something last night from.
It went to, the town planning board did their initial review, went to the county for 239M, that's what we were talking about last night.
Right.
So then they send their comments back to the town board, so.
Right. So we have a.
So as I
meeting
understand,
next
you're shooting
week.
for May 1, it could be June 1, but probably by June 1.
So we have public hearing next week.
Right.
And then we were advised that May 1, we should be able to get our approvals on May 1.
So what do you anticipate? I mean, I know you have a pretty aggressive construction timeline. Just from the experience that I've seen over the last couple of years, supply chain has been extremely difficult with regard to steel, concrete, those types of things. How do you anticipate that going?
Yeah, so we've checked all that. I mean, we are looking at 3 to 4 months on steel. Concrete has been 3 to 4 months, so it's not like it's 1 year out. So we've spoken to a number of people, we've done our analysis, and, we're giving it 9 to 10 months to construct, which 10 months should be okay.
So if concrete was ordered, steel was ordered, you're 4 months out from there, and then another 5 months in construction.
Well, I mean, by the time you, and to be very honest with you, I spoke to a bunch of concrete guys, and I didn't see it for complete on concrete. I think concrete is is not bad. In fact, in one of the buildings that we're looking at tie right now, we need to put a new floor in. They gave us a quote, and it's 45 days to pour the concrete on the floor and cure it. We just got a bid. So I don't know the concrete, I'm not.
Yeah, we didn't have an issue with our remediation on the
So
concrete.
concrete is not something that we have an issue with. The only issue that you're gonna have with is actually breakers and switches, and transformers. So breakers, switches, and transformers have a 6-month lead time. That's where the problems are. Even the construction site that we're working on right now, we have to get concrete rebars and put in. It's 30 days out.
Steel's actually come down the last 3 weeks. It's been.
Especially
down.
this week.
Yeah.
Especially this week, because the port congestion has gone away. They're now back to normal times, but peak periods of the normal times. The ports are actually now back to, getting back to normal. So I think by the time we start construction, you're actually going to see things start to get a bit more normalized. On concrete, we've not seen any delays on concrete. The only delays that we see right now are transformers, switchgear, which is 6 months out, and that's primarily because Asia had COVID, and Korea and in Vietnam, where they manufacture these tools and equipment, these equipment, and they've had, shorter man hours and a larger line, people waiting to get it. So there's a 6-month wait, but we don't see that being an issue, because if you go in and pour the concrete, put the steel frame up, and you put the roof up, all the equipment starts moving in onto the floor.